Sometimes, my friends, the greatest victories are born not from our own actions, but from the missteps of others. And right now, America, the land of ambition, the land of boldness, is standing at the edge of its next big mistake. But here's the truth: what looks like a crack in someone else's foundation can become the bridge for India's rise. Because India has always known how to turn obstacles into opportunities, setbacks into stepping stones, and pressure into progress. History whispers this lesson over and over again. The greatest shifts in power do not happen under bright spotlights or grand announcements. They happen in silence, almost unnoticed, when the world is too busy looking elsewhere. Empires don't collapse in a single thunderous roar. They stumble quietly, almost invisibly at first, until one day the world wakes up and realizes the balance has changed forever. And right now, America is inching toward that stumble. Not because it lacks talent, not because it lacks ambition, but because arrogance blinds even the most powerful. When a nation becomes too confident in its position, too comfortable in its dominance, it begins to overlook the small cracks in its foundation. And those cracks, over time, become the fault lines that shake the world. Every misstep that America makes, every short-sighted policy, every wall it tries to build in the name of protection, opens a door for another nation to step forward. That nation today is India. And isn't it remarkable? For decades, India has been underestimated, spoken of as the land of potential, but not yet ready. But now, when America begins to turn inward, when it falters in its vision, India is positioned to take the stage it has always deserved. The timing is not an accident, it is the rhythm of history. Power doesn't simply vanish. It flows, like a river, from one hand to another, from one continent to another. And today, that flow is bending toward India. The world may not see it at first. They may dismiss India's rise as temporary, as fragile, as dependent on global trends. But India knows better. India knows that when an empire stumbles, the one who is prepared, the one who has built quietly, steadily, patiently, is the one who takes the crown. America's mistake may seem small in the moment, a wrong policy, a failed alliance, a misjudged trade war, but history shows us that small mistakes have toppled giants. And in those quiet moments of decline, a new force emerges, often unnoticed until it cannot be denied. That is the story India is writing today. With a billion dreams fueling its journey, with young minds ready to shape the next era of technology, medicine, and innovation, India is not waiting for permission to lead. It is waiting for the right moment. And when America stumbles, as it inevitably will, because no empire lasts forever, India will not just be watching. India will be ready. Ready with its resilience, ready with its talent, ready with its determination that has been forged through centuries of struggle and survival. The beauty of this shift is that it doesn't require America to fall completely. It only requires America to hesitate, to pause long enough for India to surge ahead. Because when the world isn't looking, when the headlines are focused elsewhere, transformation happens quietly. And by the time the world realizes what has changed, India will already be standing in the light, no longer the follower, no longer the underestimated dreamer, but the leader the world never saw coming. America may have its Wall Street towers, its Silicon Valley giants, its vast universities with cutting-edge labs, but India has something that no amount of wealth or skyscrapers can buy: people. 1 billion strong, young, restless, and hungry to prove themselves. This is not just population, this is potential turned into power. The truest wealth of a nation has never been gold or oil or even technology. It has always been talent. And talent, in its purest form, lives in the hearts and minds of people who refuse to accept the world as it is and instead dare to shape it into what it could be. Look around at the world of innovation today. The fingerprints of Indian talent are everywhere. From the code that runs global companies to the leadership that guides Fortune 500 firms, from the doctors revolutionizing medicine to the entrepreneurs building new ecosystems. Indians are not just participants in the global economy. They are architects of it. The narrative has shifted. No longer is Indian talent defined only by outsourcing or support. It is defined by leadership, creativity, and originality. And what makes this moment so powerful is not just the brilliance of individuals, but the scale. America can boast of great minds, yes. But India can boast of millions of them, rising at the same time, from every corner of the country, from villages and cities alike. Engineers, coders, designers, scientists, teachers, dreamers, a sea of possibility so vast that when it begins to move, it becomes unstoppable. This is the force America cannot compete with, because this is not a matter of money or machinery. This is a matter of humanity, and humanity is India's richest resource. Every time America hesitates, India accelerates. When America spends years debating its immigration policies, India is producing the very people the world's future depends on. When America looks inward, India looks outward, sending its talent across borders, building bridges where others are putting up walls. When America retreats into protectionism, India surges with ambition, ready to show that openness, diversity, and opportunity are not just ideals, but strategies for growth. The truth is, talent is the one weapon that never runs out, never depreciates, and never loses its edge. And India's talent is sharpened by resilience. These young minds are not born into comfort. They are born into challenge. And challenge breeds innovation. Challenge forces creativity. Challenge builds the kind of problem solvers who can thrive not just in ideal conditions, but in the chaos of a changing world. That is why India's talent is not just equal to America's. It is destined to surpass it. When history looks back, it will not say that America lost its edge because it ran out of technology or wealth. It will say America stumbled because it underestimated the power of human capital. And in that same history, it will say India rose because it believed in its people, invested in its people, and unleashed the potential of 1 billion thinkers and doers. That, my friends, is a weapon stronger than any economy, any army, any empire. Resilience is not something you buy, not something you inherit, not even something you can learn from a book. Resilience is carved into the soul of a people by history, by struggle, by endurance. And if there is one nation on this earth that has proved resilience is part of its DNA, it is India. For centuries, India has faced trials that could have broken weaker nations. Colonial rule stripped away wealth, dignity, and sovereignty, yet India held on, refusing to let its spirit be extinguished. Famines, poverty, and division might have shattered the will of any other people, but not India. Even when the night was darkest, the flame of resilience burned on in every village, every town, every home. When the world economy trembled in recessions, when global systems collapsed, when giants of industry fell to their knees, India kept moving. Sometimes slow, sometimes stumbling, but always forward. This is not accidental. It is not luck. It is resilience that has been written into the very heartbeat of the nation. Where others saw crisis, India saw a test. Where others surrendered, India adapted. And adaptation is survival turned into progress. That is why every global storm that threatened to pull India under has only made it stronger, wiser, and more determined to rise. The beauty of resilience is that it doesn't look glamorous. It is quiet. It is steady. It is the woman who walks miles to fetch water and still sends her child to school. It is the farmer who survives drought one season and floods the next, yet plants his seeds again because hope is stronger than despair. It is the student who studies under a dim streetlight, believing that knowledge is still the way out. These are not isolated stories, they are the story of India itself. And this spirit does not vanish when times are hard. In fact, it shines brightest in those moments. So when America makes its mistake, when it stumbles in arrogance or misjudgment, India will not just survive that shift. India will thrive because resilience has taught it to turn pain into power. While others panic, India adjusts. While others complain, India creates. While others retreat, India finds a way to push forward. This is not a theory. It is history repeating itself. Every obstacle that was supposed to crush India became a stepping stone. Every challenge that was meant to hold India back ended up preparing it for a larger leap. Resilience is not taught in classrooms or boardrooms. It does not come from textbooks or strategies. It comes from lived experience, from enduring the storm and still finding the courage to dance in the rain. It comes from generations who were told to wait, yet kept building, kept dreaming, kept believing. That is why India's resilience is not fragile, it is unbreakable. And when the moment comes, when America falters, India's resilience will not just carry it through. It will lift it higher, proving once again that nothing can stop a nation that refuses to give up. The world has always been shaped by maps, but not just the ones that show borders and mountains. The real maps of power are drawn in trade routes, in supply chains, in the flow of energy and technology. And today, before our very eyes, a new economic map is being drawn. The balance that once seemed permanent is now shifting slowly but surely. The nations that once dictated the rules of commerce are beginning to retreat into themselves, closing doors in fear of losing control. America, long the champion of globalization, now toys with protectionism, building walls instead of bridges. But where America retreats, India advances. Where America turns inward, India stretches outward, offering partnership instead of isolation, opportunity instead of fear. This is not weakness, it is wisdom. In the old world, strength was measured by how much you could guard, how much you could hoard. In the new world, strength is measured by how many alliances you can build, how many doors you can open, how many hands you can clasp across borders. India understands this truth deeply. Trade is not just about profit, it is about trust. Technology is not just about innovation, it is about collaboration. Energy is not just about resources, it is about relationships. And so, as America pulls back, India is stepping forward into the very spaces being abandoned. Across Asia, Africa, and beyond, India is weaving new connections. It is not waiting for the old powers to approve. It is forging a new identity in the global marketplace. Whether it is digital payments, pharmaceuticals, renewable energy, or space technology, India is offering solutions not just for itself, but for the world. The world sees this. Nations that once looked only toward the West are now turning to India, not as a backup plan, but as a partner of choice. On this new map of the global economy, India's role is not to stand on the sidelines waiting for its turn. India is already at the center, guiding conversations, shaping policies, driving growth. And this central position has not been gifted. It has been earned through decades of resilience, innovation, and vision. The truth is undeniable. When America shuts a door, India builds a road around it. And those roads are leading straight to a future where India is not just participating in the global economy, but defining its direction. America's mistake may trigger the shift, but India's rise is not dependent on it. A spark can light a flame, yes, but the fire burns only because the fuel is already there. For decades, India has been gathering that fuel in its people, in its ideas, in its resilience. The misstep of another nation may speed the process, but make no mistake, India's moment was always coming. This is not about filling a gap left by America. This is about building a vision so vast, so compelling, that the world has no choice but to follow its light. True leadership has never been about simply replacing the one who falls. It is not about saying, now it's my turn. Leadership is about creating something larger than yourself, something greater than power, for power's sake. It is about offering a vision of the future that others can see themselves in, a vision that is bold enough to inspire and inclusive enough to unite. And this is where India stands apart. America's strength has often been built on competition. Who can win, who can dominate, who can control. But India's philosophy, woven through centuries of culture and struggle, is different. It is about collaboration, about coexistence, about showing the world that progress does not need to come at the expense of others. The world today is hungry for that kind of leadership. Nations are tired of walls, of trade wars, of arrogance disguised as power. They are searching for a leader that does not only speak of strength, but also of trust, of fairness, of balance. India, with its billion voices and its centuries of resilience, carries that possibility. Its rise is not just economic, it is moral and cultural. It offers a model of leadership that does not silence diversity but celebrates it, that does not exploit difference but embraces it. So yes, America's mistake may open the door, but India does not walk through it as a substitute. India walks through it as a pioneer. The fire of India's rise is not a reaction. It is a creation. It is the steady build of ambition, innovation, and hope waiting for its time to ignite. And now that the flame is lit, the world will not see India as the next best option. It will see India for what it truly is, a leader with a vision bold enough to inspire and inclusive enough to endure. So when America takes that wrong turn, don't just watch, don't just clap, step forward. Because this is India's hour, India's story, and India's chance to prove to the world that the future belongs to those who dare to dream bigger than borders, bigger than mistakes, bigger than fear. And I want you to remember this: America's next big mistake will not be India's burden, it will be India's breakthrough. The dawn is no longer in the West. The dawn is here in India.